And Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can. And with every trip down the red carpet, DiCaprio climbs to new heights in his already impressive career. These days, he's everywhere you turn. Leo mania has swept the nation. But before his tidal wave success following the 1997 film Titanic, this megastar started off small.
You're working with Oscar-winning directors, now Oscar-winning actors, but, I mean, let's just remember how this started. And it started with commercials. What were some of the commercials you did?
Oh, God, a great number of different commercials. Bubblegum commercials, cheese commercials.
Do you have them on tape?
I don't have them on tape. They're sort of lost in the sauce. I can't find them.
What do you think about when you look back at that time in your career? Did you know, I mean, at that point, did you say, hey, this is a good way to spend some time after school, or did you think this was going to be a way of life?
No. Well, the truth of the matter is that I knew from very early on, and I don't know why, I don't have an explanation for it, that I wanted to perform and be an actor. I'd been doing it my whole life.
Class clown? Were you the ham?
Absolutely, all those things, and more so than that, you know, I love to impersonate people. I love to, you know, my mom or dad would have a lot of strange people over at the house that when they would leave, I would go on an hour-and-a-half rant of impersonating them and, you know, picking them apart. And I just truly loved to be an actor. I loved to play different characters. It was something that I always loved to do.
Finally, at the age of 18, he got a shot at the big screen opposite Robert De Niro and Ellen Barkin in This Boy's Life.
When you look back at This Boy's Life, do you think you were good in it? I mean, if that's the one that started it.
I do. I'm actually really proud of that performance, and I really, you know, it's hard for me because I have so much emotional attachment to that movie. And it was, in This Boy's Life, it honestly felt like a family. So I watched that movie, and it's the only movie to this day that I actually get, you know, somewhat choked up from.
Steven Spielberg said that's when he first noticed you, that he said that he looked at you and said, wow, in that role. What about What's Eating Gilbert Grape? When you look at that movie, what did it mean to your career?
I was waiting for Gilbert Grape. I auditioned for it a great number of times. I rehearsed over and over again and to try to embody this, this character of this mentally disabled kid. And it was a real turning point for me because I felt like I wanted to do better quality work, and I felt like I wanted to go there as an actor, and I was willing to take that chance.
And with that roll of the dice, DiCaprio earned himself an Academy Award nomination. But it wasn't until the blockbuster Titanic that Leo was launched into superstardom. I'm the king of the world! Pulling in over $1 billion worldwide, Titanic went on to become the highest-grossing movie of all time.
We're not gonna jump.
Following his box office success, DiCaprio made a few films which received little critical acclaim. But this Christmas, the big ticket is Leo. He goes head-to-head with himself in Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York and Steven Spielberg's Catch Me If You Can. In this case, Catch Me If You Can won DiCaprio over long before the lead part came his way.
This was, you know, a dream role for an actor. I mean, this is, you know, this is an actor himself. He mastered the art of misdirection.
He was great at finding the vulnerability in people. That little crack, that window that he could get his hand in. I mean, a great scene where you go up to a bank teller and she's kind of this young, naive girl, and you're about to pass a check, but you think, I could probably ask her out, and she's not even going to think about the check.
It was like the Wild. He was like a lion choosing his prey. And he was an expert at what he did, and this was something that was inherent in him, you know what I mean? It was something that could not be taught.
Here's a guy who pretended to be a doctor, a lawyer, an airline pilot, a teacher at an early stage, and they always say, how did he get away with this?
It was a different code of ethics. It's a time in which that when you presented yourself as something, you shook somebody's hand and you looked them in the eye, that's what they drew upon. You know, there was
trusting.
Yeah, they were more trusting. It was a time when there was no centralized computer system to catch criminals. You know, you could go out and embody these people and become this person and immerse yourself in different environments. And when you said something, people believed it.
One of the things I loved about the kind of ongoing progression is after he begins to get more and more confidence, you start to see him as this savvy, very accomplished con man. But at some point in the cat and mouse game, he gets tired of running. And you start to see him as a kid again.
I think he, at some point, became not arrogant, but so confident in what he did that he felt he could pull anything off. But at the end of the day, and what was really interesting as a character was that he he knew he was living a lie, and that's where the whole dynamic of the whole Carl Hanratty character comes into play, because, you know, ironically, he's the person that's trying to catch him throughout the course of the movie, but he's the only person that he can relate to on any kind of a human, honest level.
As slick as he was, it's interesting when he says to Hanratty on the phone one time, "I want it to stop, Carl. Can it just stop?" As if to say, can't we just forget everything I've done?
Yeah.
And you realize there's a lot of naivete in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I think he knows he has a limited run. He has a limited run. He's smart enough to, if he's smart enough to pull off these cons, he's smart enough to know eventually that the law is going to catch up to him and that he can't continue with what he's doing.
56 days you shot this in, and all, locations all over the place. The other movie you've got coming out this time, Gangs in New York, was almost a year, right? Mm-hmm. How did compare the two experiences for me a little bit?
I can't really make that comparison because I was working on this, you know, magnus opus, this, you know, sort of throwback to old epics in Gangs of New York, and it was a, you know, a 2-year experience for me. Physical working time was over 9 months, the longest shooting experience I've ever had, and, you know, this work experience with Spielberg was like a independent movie. It was really, you know, it was like a road film. So it's hard for me to compare both those experiences. I'd have to do an epic with Spielberg and an independent movie with Scorsese to really understand what it was like.